Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're talking about Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 6, entitled 2 of 1. But just before we get into my review of this episode, I just wanted to acknowledge the announcement that came out the other day for Star Trek Picard on Season 3, and all of the original Next Generation cast are returning for that season. What a great piece of news this is.
I am not a man who needs a legacy.
I think back on those days on the Enterprise and all the danger we rushed into.
Those were the days.
Evolution is not an act of preservation, it's addition.
It is clear sacrifice is required again.
Jean-Luc, when the galaxy comes calling, you love it.
Aren't we a little overdue for a good old-fashioned road trip?
I promise you will not be alone.
Ready?
As ever.
All of our 7 original cast members, Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, Brent Spiner, LeVar Burton, Gates McFadden, Marina Sirtis, and Michael Dorn. They're all coming back for Season 3, and it's not just going to be little in and out cameos. They're going to be a big solid part of the season from what I gather. So that was fantastic news, and they had a trailer come out kind of to promote this, where we heard some of the characters' voices talking to Jean-Luc as he kind of wrote an invitation or something out in his office, and we got to see Riker at the end with Jean-Luc. It was a cool trailer, and it was a great little sizzle piece to get our appetites wet. I'm surprised it came out so soon. I thought I might have left it toward the end of Season 2 before they announced this kind of thing, but no, we're only halfway through Season 2 and they've already kind of come out with it. So I guess they felt they couldn't keep it a secret until May. They had to come out with it now, but you know, it's great news, so that's cool to hear. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics yet, please don't forget to click that red button to stay up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. So our title 2 of 1 obviously refers to Jurati and the Borg Queen. They're now linked. We've got the imaginary Borg Queen swimming around in Jurati's head, influencing her moves and actions. The whole dynamic here reminds me a lot of Battlestar Galactica with the whole Six and Boltar dynamic, where we had Six in the red dress, kind of proverbially whispering in Boltar's ear all the time. It's kind of along those lines, and there's a lot of parallels, I thought, to that aspect of Battlestar Galactica. In this week's Star Trek Picard, we saw everything from the sort of caper event at the gala, with all our team trying to convince Renee Picard to stay on mission, that she wasn't going to leave, because obviously we know if she abandons her role in the mission, then our future is doomed. And we had to get her back on track for that, because obviously Q's been trying to talk her out of it. We had an interesting narrative style this episode, so we obviously got to see first the scene with Picard getting injured, lying on the ground unconscious, blood coming from his mouth, and then obviously they did the whole storytelling routine thing where we go, 23 minutes prior or whatever, or whatever the number was. So obviously a pretty time-honoured storytelling convention where you jump into the story at the climax and then backtrack to see how we got up to that point, which I think in the context of this episode worked well. I think it was a nice little storytelling exercise, although I think it worked well in the beginning of this episode to lead us into the episode, but we probably didn't need to keep coming back to it every so often and going 23 minutes to go. Now we've got 20 minutes to go. Now we've got 14 minutes to go. Okay, we get the idea. We get the idea. We're leading up to this moment. We don't need to be reminded about it 4 times. Just the opening was more than adequate. But I guess it did give us an opportunity to see some more of these kind of flashback moments with Picard's, childhood and so forth, that is obviously swimming through his head. Obviously, we had a large part of this episode taking place at the gala event, which was, it's nice to see this environment. See our heroes in a more of a sort of a James Bond-esque setting or a Mission Impossible-esque setting. In the dinner suits and, fancy dresses and everything. I enjoyed the scene between Raffi and Rios, where Rios is kind of geeking out over the fact that he's got a real cigar, not a kind of a replicated one, and he's got the matches and everything tastes better and the food is better. And he's kind of tripping out on all the reality of the world that he's in, as opposed to sort of, I guess, what he's used to, which is probably where everything's replicated and maybe everything doesn't taste quite as good and, it's not quite as real or have as much flavour and all that sort of thing. So he's tripping over matches and cigars and all that sort of thing. I thought that was kind of a nice scene between these two characters. And we also had some nice scenes between Picard and Talon as well. Clearly, Picard's feelings for Laris are filtering, down into Talon, and she just keeps having to remind him, hang on, I'm not Laris, I'm Talon. I know I look the same, which they haven't addressed yet, and I'm trying to get my head around this. It's like, okay, we know that Talon is the spitting image of Laris, but why? Why we haven't yet to have a kind of explanation as to this similarity. Most of Agnes's scenes in this episode were with the Bald Queen, that whole imaginary relationship that we've got going on there, from forcing her to kiss Rios to singing a song at the gala event, which was a nice little scene to have. Alison Pill did a good job of this. We know that Issa Briones sung last season the whole Blue Skies number, so obviously we got Alison Pill singing this season. So yeah, good on her for belting out a bit of a big band tune there. The other recurring theme that keeps me popping up in these episodes is our little flashing images of Elnor, where Raffi keeps imaginary seeing Elnor. Obviously she saw him getting off the bus when they rescued Rios from the detention centre. Now we've got Elnor popping up in the background of the gala event. Raffi's sort of seems to be struggling, keeps seeing images of Elnor, and surely this is leading to something, but they wouldn't just be popping Elnor into the background of all these shots constantly and not have a direction in mind for it. But I'm wondering how this is going to actually resolve itself, or how it's going to actually, either come to help or hinder the team as well. One aspect I loved about this episode, during the scene where Picard is talking Renee off the proverbial ledge, convincing her to come back to the mission, don't worry about being scared and all that sort of thing, giving the big rousing speech, which I think, let's face it, these rousing speeches from Picard are the backbone of a lot of Star Trek. To rally the troops and everything, I think he's really great at them, and obviously that skill set has come in very handy here for convincing Renee that she is where she is meant to be, and not to chicken out of the mission. But I love the moment where Picard asks her to look up, and they look up and see the space shuttle, I think it's the OV-165 space shuttle. It's like, Enterprise opening title sequence. Oh yes, and I was intrigued to hear what she was going to say about this, because obviously this ship popped up in the opening titles for every episode of Enterprise that we ever had, but we sort of don't really know that much about it. So I was glad that we got a little bit of an insight into this element of historical space travel that we see here in the gala event kind of museum section. And at this point in the episode, we kind of find out why Picard's unconscious and bloodied at the start of the episode, which is because Dr. Soong chooses to try to take out Renee with his car, which is the price that Q has said he needs to pay in order to get the cure for Corey, his daughter. But obviously Picard pushes Renee out of the way, and he takes the hit from the car himself. And then as soon as this happened, I thought, okay, yep, this is how we're getting Dr. Teresa back into the show. We're needing emergency help. They kind of have to go off the grid a bit. If they take him to a proper hospital, then certain 24th century technologies and whatnot might be discovered. So yeah, obviously Rios puts in a call to Dr. Teresa, who stabilises Jean-Luc and everything. Even though he does kind of fry a defib kit, I think that was kind of cool. It's like, how's this going to work? Hang on, he's got a synth body. What's a defib kit going to do to a synth body? Well, I think in this particular occasion, it's what the synth body did to the defib kit that I guess is what counts, which is basically blow it up. So I'm glad we got to see Dr. Teresa again, and I'm guessing this isn't the last time we're going to be seeing her in this season as well. I think now she's been brought in with the rest of the goings on. I think there might be some more involvement from her in our next episodes as well. Now, one very interesting reveal in this episode, which I kind of didn't see coming, which makes it even, I guess, more interesting, is the fact that Corey isn't Dr. Soong's kind of natural biological daughter. We get to see some of his files, some of the history in terms of his genetics work, and it would seem that whatever eugenics work he did back in the days of Khan, he hasn't stopped fiddling around with, and he's obviously been trying to develop and do more work in that department, and he's been basically churning out genetically enhanced offspring to, I guess, perfect whatever he's trying to perfect in his various different genetics and eugenics experiments. So we find out essentially that Corey is like a test tube baby, and I think she's the last one, that all of his previous attempts had failed. Whatever he's done to create her has succeeded, even though it's got, you know, some pretty major issues with sunlight and all that sort of thing. He's trying to kind of perfect whatever research he's trying to do. So we kind of get a good sense here. The whole Sung family was all into genetics and eugenics before, obviously, we got into cybernetics, sometime after Eric Sung's involvement in the Star Trek Enterprise episode. Prior to that, it was all about genetics work, which kind of makes sense, because I always sort of thought it was a bit weird that, you know, we had, you know, Khan Noonien Singh in original series, and then we've got Dr. Noonien Sung in you know, Next Generation or whatever. It's like, surely, you know, Gene Roddenberry why would he name two characters almost identically? But I guess when you think about it, if the Sungs were geneticists and they had a hand in creating the augments and everything, then it kind of makes sense that this Noonian name would kind of continue, or would be, you know, would be given to one of his experiments or whatever. And it might be who knows, might be a family name, or might be some sort of name that means something to the Sung family, and therefore, you know, having, you know, Noonien Singh and then Noonien Sung, there's a bit of a connection there. So I guess the fact that we've got multiple characters in Star Trek named very similarly, the fact that the Sungs were all involved somehow in the genetics and eugenics programs to, I guess, create Khan and all of the other augments, that kind of fills a bit of a gap in that sort of, I guess, plot hole or continuity issue, perhaps. So yes, I wonder what Corey's going to do in the next episode, and how she's going to confront her father, Dr. Sung, and how this is going to affect their relationship, and whether we're going to find out, is she going to turn out to be kind of like another kind of Khan type, you know, super soldier type person, or is this going to turn out to be something completely different? But nevertheless, there's an interesting dynamic there that I think is, you know, something we're looking forward to seeing. In the end, we find out that all of this jazzy stuff that the Borg Queen's been getting Agnes to do, from kissing Rios to singing songs at the gala, was all a means of bumping up her adrenaline levels and endorphin levels and everything, so that the Borg Queen could more effectively take over Agnes's body. And at the end, we see, obviously, Agnes's eyes revert to Borg Queen type eyes. And at the end of this episode, it appears Agnes is no longer in control anymore. Borg Queen is in control of Agnes. I'm guessing next week's episode, we're going to see all sorts of crazy stuff going on with Agnes, aka Borg Queen number 2. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was quite good. Again, great to hear that the Next Generation cast are coming back into season 3. That's awesome news. Can't wait for that. I think season 3 is going to be a real fan fest, I think. And I hope we don't have to wait too long before season 3 hits our screens. Hopefully, maybe it might even be later on this year, perhaps like around November or December. Perhaps we got Discovery last year in January or whatever, and then again in November or December. So maybe they'll do the same thing with Picard. Guys, as always, please leave a super thanks if you're able to. It really helps the channel out, much appreciated. If you can't, that's okay. Just leave a like and a comment, and you know, share this video with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and check out my merch in the merch store. We can pick up all the cool Star Trek t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, caps, all that sort of stuff for great prices. And I'll catch you guys very soon for my next video. I'll see you soon.